Be Authentic, Be You with Heshy Friedman, episode 181. Are you ready to make your law firm a profit-generating machine that will free up your time and skyrocket your impact? With more than 2 decades of business growth experience and having proven that you can be successful while prioritizing your family and your impact, introducing the Profit with Law podcast. I am your host, the creator of the Firm Differentiator 10X Effect, Moshe Amsel. Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel. Let me share an exciting tool that I recently came across that is a game changer for law firms that bill hourly or by the project, otherwise known as flat fee billing. The 2020 Legal Trends Report published by Clio rates how important various items are in a client choosing your firm. You may be surprised to know that the third most important decision factor for someone choosing a lawyer is the ability to pay with a payment plan. The challenge that law firm owners face is the risk of a client not making good on that payment plan. Most attorneys don't offer payment plans because of that. The problem is now solved with LawFunder. LawFunder allows you to easily add a payment option to all your client invoices and retainer replenishment requests that does not require credit checks, applications, or any other complex process. The client's able to use their existing credit cards, allowing them to earn points and miles, access credit card specials on interest rates, and any other tools they use to manage their cash. When I saw this tool, I was blown away. Most importantly, it removes all the risk from the law firm and makes an easy and painless process to the payment process. So if you want to check off the box on one of the top factors in new client decisions, if you want to decrease your accounts receivable and get paid immediately, LawFunder is the solution. Go to lawfunder.com. That's lawfundar.com/profitwithlaw to learn more. My guest today is a special one because we're going way back to my youth. I have one of my childhood friends here on the show. I grew up on Valencia Drive, and this is one of the boys from Valencia Drive. His name is Heshy Friedman. He runs a company called Radial Creations that is associated with a company called DataBit. And some of you know that I spent 20 years in the IT industry. Most recently, the last stint that I did before I left was working for DataBit. So our paths crossed in multiple places along our journeys, and Heshy's been doing some really interesting things. So first of all, his company does websites, and we'll talk about that. But he's also, together with myself and some other people, has formed and is running a local networking group in the community, which for small businesses, which is really exciting. We have a number of attorneys in there as well. But what's more exciting is what he's doing on LinkedIn. So I hope that we have enough time to cover all of those different topics, but without wasting any more time, I want to bring Heshy on. Heshy, welcome to the show.
Welcome. Thank you, Moshe. I appreciate that introduction. And yes, we definitely go back a long time. You're talking about since, I don't know, 3-4 years old, we know each other and we had a very close-knit block. We all, we had a lot of children our age that we used to play together. And, we went to school together. And then also you forgot about, it was a company called with Arthur Jackness, CDS.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of my first websites that I did with you.
You and CDS, DJ. Communication, Data, and Security. We spent a number of years there and had some other friends work there as well. It's interesting because a lot of things are people that and you have opportunities to bring them into different things that somebody's looking for a job and you can land them a job where you are, and then you end up spending more time with them. So it's really been a fun ride for sure. It's interesting because we grew up in a neighborhood where, on our block, we were constantly getting together. We had a baseball field right around the corner. So we were constantly, getting together to play baseball games and running around and playing tag and all that stuff. You don't see that as much these days. Kids are like, it's more, drive me here, drive me there.
Right.
The neighborhood get-togethers are not nearly as prevalent as they used to be. And I kind of wish that my kids had that. So
right. I think we had something very unique growing up that as well. It's not just today's. I agree with you in that it's today's day and age. The kids today are they're more into their devices and they're more like just plugged in more. I think that plays a big role. But I think we really did have something unique with so many boys our age in the neighborhood that we used to just, we always be playing together. I think that was unique.
And it's interesting because we have now a WhatsApp group for the Concord Boys WhatsApp group, and not everybody's in there, but a bunch of us are. It's like a dozen of us that basically are around the same age and hung out together. So, but our listeners maybe they want to know about our childhood. Maybe we should spend the whole podcast talking about that. But I don't think that they do. I think that they want to know strategies and what can they do. So. Lay the groundwork for me, besides for our background, what exactly do you do in the website realm, and why would somebody work with you as opposed to, there's a ton of marketing agencies out there. So why a company that specializes in websites? So you paint that picture for us.
Sure. And that's a very valid question, and one that I have to answer all the time, because that's why that really is my unique selling point. So what I'd answer that is, so what we do is, what I do, what my company does is, I've been around for a very long time doing this. Radial Creations, my company has been founded in 2002. So that's when I got into the foray, and that's when I started doing this. So a lot of it's just experience, doing this for a long time, servicing hundreds and hundreds of companies and launching their websites over the years, and really changing with the industry over a period of time. How the industry has changed every 5 years, you kind of have to look at things all over again with a new look. Between, just think about Google with requiring sites to be responsive, requiring sites to be, even informational sites to have SSL, all these things to be on the forefront on it. So it's a lot of it's the experience, but also I'd like to say is that a lot of companies, they're taking templates and just sticking their own stuff in there. You swap the logo, swipe the images, have that stock photo there, have that content that's not well thought out. What I'm offering is really making the website part of your business. Like today, everybody's looking at who you are. What do you do? They're looking you up online. They're doing a Google search, and it's even the more so since Corona, when everybody's kind of left that office environment more and gone online, been virtual. People, like it's so normal to have Zoom. I had Zoom meetings way before Corona, and that's just the nature of my business. Everything's virtual. But to us, when the whole thing happened, it wasn't a big deal. But today, everybody wants to have that virtual presence, and they need to look good online more than they've ever done before. So people are coming to us with a template-based website that wasn't thought out. They hired a cheap Indian guy for $1,200 to build, a full, 20-page website, but it's not personal. It doesn't say their story. There's no SSL certificate there. It's a generic pictures. What we're doing is we're making that site speak about who their company is. It's web strategy, and it's the full marketing that goes around that.
So let's dive into that for a moment. What exactly is involved in web strategy? I mean, you kind of alluded to a number of things, and I think that if I piece together what I heard so far, it's you want to create an experience for people who are visiting your website that really tells the story about you, and not necessarily it just being here's an attorney and here's what they do, and so. How does somebody do that? I mean, do you hire a photographer and start, following them around to create some footage and take some pictures and, to put on their website? Like how do you take a client on this journey from let's redo your website and have it be an advertisement of who you are to here's the finished product?
So that's definitely what you said is 100% correct. In an ideal scenario, we will hire a photographer. We want to get those personal shots. We want people, when they're going to the site, they want to see who's running this company. It's a personal connection they want to have. When people are looking to do business with other companies, they want to see who are they doing business with. So give them that information, but show them that the person has a warm personality, that they're smiling, have a professional headshot photographer come in and do that shot. Maybe take a video and have a professional video. The content should be well thought out and with somebody who knows how to write that content and put it in the right content block. So it's a matter of getting all of that data and information that you need to fuse the site together. And that's the strategy component of it. We're not just launching the site. We take one step back and we try to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve with the company and the website, and who's your target audience, and giving that information to them based on understanding that detail. And that's going to involve getting the right people involved We hire the photographer, we'll hire the writer. They might have their own writer, they might have their own photographer, but we'll coordinate with them with what we need and what we think will work best on the site as far as that goes. So it's that one step back before we do the design of understanding what they need and how they need to have that done.
Now, at the end of the day, so really it's all about the content, but what about the layout of the site? There's a typical look and feel to a website where there's a menu at the top, and I kind of feel like if somebody is landing on your site, you have to really think about, why are they there? What is the question that they're asking that they need answered? Have you found that it's better to get the menus out of the way and have them select who they are when they come in? Kind of like, let's say for me, right? So I might serve law firm owners, of a certain size. So maybe your firm is below 500,000 in revenue, your firm's above 500,000 in revenue, and then maybe you're a vendor that seeks out law firms. So would it make sense for me to have on my site, rather than a menu and where people can go, have this question on the right on the front page? Who are you? Identify who you are. And when they click it, it then takes them on the right journey for what they're looking for, as opposed to them needing to go and look, oh, what practice area is this? And, are they going to be able to solve the thing that I'm looking for?
Right. So conceptually, you are correct that you want them to be able to identify themselves to see how they match the best with your service. So the idea would be really for them you want to break it down and say, who am I and how do I fit this company? And then let them select that option. But in the real world, people, when they're going online, they want to remain anonymous. They want to kind of have that, let me look around, let me see what I want. It's like, you don't want to walk into the store and have the salesperson come right over to you. How can I help you? Let me look around first, and then I'll ask for help. So I think
it depends on the store, right? If I go into Costco, I want to walk through every aisle. But if I walk into a shoe store, heck yeah, I want you to walk over and measure my foot and choose shoes for me, right? So I think it depends on what the intent is and what kind of business it is as to what kind of experience you might want.
Correct. But there is that, people still want to have that, and unless they're very directly, they know they're going to that shoe store and they're buying those shoes, then you're right. But in most of the time, if you ever go to a site and that thing pops up, enter your email here, you get a modal pop up there, enter your email for a coupon code, or you get that chat bot on the bottom that pops out at you. The way I look at it is, I don't want to see that chat bot. If I want to chat with somebody, I'll click it. Don't stick it in my face. So it's the same thing also. Like, let me first see who I want to be before I identify it. And most of the sites, and again, if I'm looking to buy specific products and that site is very specifically geared towards that, and I know what I want and how to get there right away, then that's correct. But I think there is a skepticism that people have whenever they get a lead or they're looking to do business with a particular company. The first time around, at least, there's going to be that skepticism that you want to kind of let them lead the role of identifying themselves first by being comfortable of seeing and snooping and basically just kind of browsing around.
Yeah, very good. I just want to go make a quick housekeeping detour here. If you're listening with your headphones on and you're hearing my kids screaming upstairs, it's one of those days where the kids are home. So they're barking, crying in the background. You're only going to hear it if you're listening with headphones. For some reason, those sounds that get picked up by the microphone in the distance, you don't hear it when you're listening on a speaker or in the car, stuff like that. But if you've got AirPods in your ear and you're listening to this, you just heard my kid crying. I apologize for that. It's Christmas Eve day. So when we're recording this, I don't know when we're going to release it, but the kids are home. They're going to be home for a week, and that's the nature of the beast now.
That's the nature of today. And this is pretty good considering, having kids, barging in on meetings. I had a professional meeting the other day. It was in my house, and I had my 2-year-old on my lap, for the meeting, but they fully understood. And that's just the nature of business today.
Yeah, absolutely. I had to install a lock on my door. I mean, this door was just, it's a regular door in a house, doesn't have a lock on it. I had to order one on Amazon early in the pandemic and put a lock on. All right. So somebody's got they understand that they have to redesign the website. They understand that they've got to have their story or whatever. What about the GUI, the look and feel of the site? The what is it called? The user interface, the user
UI, UX, user interface and user experience.
Right. So what what's working now as far as UI UX? I kind of feel like when I go around the web, there's certain websites that when you land on it, you just feel refreshed. It just feels very fluid and natural.
Mhm.
And then other sites that when you land on it, it feels old, it feels boxy, it feels,
Right.
and I don't know the technical terminology for that, but I find that many law firm websites are kind of like that second one. And how do we cross that divide? What should we be asking for in in a conversation with a web designer to get that modern, really responsive, nice, sleek looking feel?
Right. I love that question because it identifies the world today of websites. It really kind of identifies who you are and what you do. The design trend today and it keeps on changing, but it's large text, large graphics, capturing their attention. Very clean, very white, very airy. And the main thing to keep in mind, which I would say in today's day and age, is people are scanning and scrolling. So you want to be able to give them the ability to capture their attention as they scroll down your website, whether it's on a desktop device on a large screen, whether it's on a tablet when they're going to do it with their finger, or whether it's on their mobile device. They're scanning and scrolling. So give them bite-sized chunks with large graphics and make it airy. A lot of law firm websites, and I have to tell you that, Moshe, that there's so many law firms now that are from 10 years ago. They have a website from 10 years ago. Even if they did it professionally 10 years ago, very boxy, very boxed in, small text, the wrong type of text. It's just, and it's not refreshing. And it's because they law firms are kind of a dry business in terms of a website is concerned. But there still are ways to make it dynamic and vibrant and exciting. Having a big headshot of a large smiling personality there that's welcoming and inviting, saying the message right away, and then giving them as they scroll. You see the practice areas with icons, not just bullet points. In the olden days, it was bullet points. Today, it's graphic icons. So it's really just taking that and making it a story, making it very spread out, airy, and bite-sized chunks of breaking up the text into components. And as far as what you should ask a company, well, in my business, it's very easy just to see their portfolio, see what they do. You don't even have to ask. Just look, ask them for samples, ask them for examples, see other customers that they've made websites for, see what they did and how they did it, and if they're happy with it, and if it follows those protocols.
Let me share an exciting tool that I recently came across that is a game changer for law firms that bill hourly or by the project, otherwise known as flat fee billing. The 2020 Legal Trends Report published by Clio rates how important various items are in a client choosing your firm. You may be surprised to know that the third most important decision factor for someone choosing a lawyer is the ability to pay with a payment plan. The challenge that law firm owners face is the risk of a client not making good on that payment plan. Most attorneys don't offer payment plans because of that. The problem is now solved with LawFunder. LawFunder allows you to easily add a payment option to all your client invoices and retainer replenishment requests that does not require credit checks, applications, or any other complex process. The client's able to use their existing credit cards, allowing them to earn points and miles, access credit card specials on interest rates, and any other tools they use to manage their cash. When I saw this tool, I was blown away. Most importantly, it removes all the risk from the law firm and makes an easy and painless process to the payment process. So if you want to check off the box on one of the top factors in new client decisions, if you want to decrease your accounts receivable and get paid immediately, LawFunder is the solution. Go to lawfunder.com. That's lawfundar.com/profitwithlaw to learn more. Yeah. So, this really begs the next question, which is, people tend to, a lot of lawyers are doing blog posts. They're doing blogging now, whether they're having a writer or whether they're doing it themselves or whether they're signing up for a service that's doing it for them, and they're getting these canned articles put on their site. And they're doing that because of, SEO, but there's no real strategy there. And I don't want to go into an SEO conversation. I don't think we have time for that in our interview today. But people confuse the website and the blog, right? And now the blog could essentially be one of the menu items on their website, right? But they're different. Can you explain the difference? Like, what is the purpose of the website and how does that differ from what the intention of the blog is?
Okay. Yeah, I like that question. The website itself, you want to today, again, another thing of today's, like I explained, that it's very simple and clean, is you want to keep the KISS principle. And it's always been that way, but it's just more and more relevant. KISS is keep it simple, stupid.
Let's keep it simple, smarty pants, right?
Okay, it's all a matter of perspective. The idea is really to minimize the menu. You don't want to have more than 6 items on the menu, on the top nav menu. You don't want to confuse them. You can have drop downs if there's a lot of pages, and there's nothing wrong with having a lot of content, but it has to be very, very digestible. Don't let people get overwhelmed with what they see. It's all a matter of how you're breaking it down. So the content itself on the website should stick to the main points. If we're dealing with a law firm, for example, you can have an about us page, and maybe on the about us page, it will show all the the bio of the attorneys. You can click on each one and get a bio page. Practice areas, you can have one page that has all the practice areas, or if there's a lot of them, each one could be an individual page. But you want to break it down to very basic components of the site itself. The blog is going to contain everything else that you want to have as far as the articles that you're writing, interesting things, news, videos. Like if I do a video, I'll make a blog post explaining that video and then embed the video in there, and that will be a blog post content. So blog posts should not be generic. Like if you're writing generic content for a blog, you hire a guy to write a blog, it's pointless. You're wasting money. You're throwing money in the garbage. The blog has to be relating to your business, relating to your industry, and ideally it should be written by somebody who's going to interview the person, the face of the company, the man behind the company, and it will be their style of content. The professional writer will know how to write that from a story point of view, but it has to be thought out content, and then it has value for social media because it's original content, it's quality content, and then also if you share that on social media, that will get picked up there as well, and then you'll have it will serve a purpose. But to just write generic content, that's just, you're not going to get traction from that.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to figure out how to simplify this, to read it back to you and tell you how I understand it. And the way I understand it is, if let's say somebody comes to your office and you're meeting them face to face, and you want to convince them that they should work with you, you'll give them a tour of the office and you'll tell them, here, this is what we do here, this is what we do there, this is how we serve our clients this way, this is how we serve our clients that way. And then you'll sit down in the conference room and you'll meet with them about specific topics that are relevant to what they're looking to get resolved. Mm-hmm. So that tour around the office is kind of your website. That's, here's what we do, here's how we do it. And then the details about the actual work that we're doing, that's the blog. Does that sound?
I never thought of it that way, but yeah, I definitely hear that. That's definitely an interesting way to look at it. Yeah, I would say that's a good example.
Yeah, so because I'm always trying to figure out, like, if this is your presence now, because this is something it's not for this conversation either, but I've been highlighting it. So there's a study that's done by a company called Clio. That's one of the leading practice management software companies in the legal industry for small to medium-sized law firms. They do an annual survey and they create this report. It's called the Clio Legal Trends Report. And in the 2020 report, one of the things that they highlighted is how invaluable, how invaluable is the wrong word, how lacking in value having an office is in the legal industry. And basically they asked a survey of questions to people seeking legal services. What is the most important decisions in making your decision factors in making your decision? And the least important one was whether you have an office and what that office looks like. And it costs something like $10,000 on average, $10,000 a year per attorney for a physical office space. So that's a huge overhead. And so we're having conversations here on the podcast about running a virtual law firm, about getting rid of the office environment. And when you do that, the website becomes more and more important.
Oh yeah.
Because the argument you're going to make is, hey, but how do I show a potential client that we're real, that we're legitimate, that we, and if the website can do that, then that takes away another reason why you're holding on to this idea that, oh, I need to have an office and everybody needs to be in the office. So yeah, that's why I like that analogy, because it really solves that problem, makes it clear. I want to switch gears. We're almost out of time. Let's talk about LinkedIn for a moment.
Sure.
You've kind of like backdoored into this LinkedIn guru status. And I don't think that was your intention when you started getting really active on LinkedIn. But when you post something, it gets a lot of traction. And I'm guessing that you've had some significant business come from LinkedIn. I could be wrong.
Yes.
You'd have to tell me. Looking back at the last, what's it about 18 months that you got
You're
really
pretty good.
active on LinkedIn?
That's pretty much when I really started getting more active. 18
Yeah.
months. Yeah.
So looking back on the last 18 months, and you were very smart to do this 18 months ago, right? You know, you were primed for COVID when it came, right? It was like timing couldn't be better. But looking back at the last 18 months, at all the different things that you've done, if somebody wanted to use LinkedIn as a tool to grow their law practice, what are the top 3 tips you can give them based on your experience over the last 18 months that would move the needle for them on that platform?
Okay, so I would say that there's the top 3 things to do is A, to connect. You have to really build your audience of people who are going to see your material. You have to connect to the right people. You have to engage with those people. You have to engage with their content because then they'll get to know you and understand you and become within your network. And then you have to post. You have to post valuable content. Just be authentic. Say stories of what's going on in your business and do it consistently because then you're going to be in their face all the time. If you have an audience and you're engaging with that audience and you're giving them content and material, that will automatically build your network. And then I'll get people on LinkedIn who know me. They'll tag me when somebody's asking if anybody knows a good web developer. And I get business directly from my salespeople on LinkedIn. That's just one example of that. And then you also establish yourself as an authority when you're posting content relating to your business and relating to stuff that you're doing. And you have an audience now that can see that. And you have an engaged audience that can see it. So I would say it's really just about connecting to the right people is number 1. Or no particular order. These are the 3 things. Connecting to the right audience, engaging with that audience so that they're familiar with who you are and they like you because you're engaging with their content, and then just posting valuable, quality, authentic content.
Right. And I want to highlight something about the order of those in just a moment. So if I forget, you'll pull me back. But is there a strategy as to who you're connecting with, or is it just kind of like anybody who you happen to bump into because you saw them on another post? Like how do you go about the connection piece? Like, how do you figure out, am I connecting with potential clients or am I connecting with other people within my industry? Here we're talking to lawyers, right? So is a lawyer looking to connect with other lawyers, or are they looking to connect? Like, let's say they do, I guess if it's B2B is really what LinkedIn is strong for. So, if you're an estate planning attorney, you're really facing the consumer, but maybe business owners or people, professionals are more likely to use your services. So, LinkedIn might be the right platform. Is it just kind of like, hey, I want to try to find anybody who's in my geographic area? Like, how do you do that? How do you navigate?
Okay, so in the early days of LinkedIn, when I for the first few months, even after I got active, I didn't connect to anybody. I didn't do any outreach. It was really just inbound. It wasn't outbound. Anybody who connected to me, of course, I connected to them. For the most part, anyone who tries to sell me something, I'm looking for authentic connections. I'm looking for people to engage with. I'm not looking for people trying to sell me, and that's why they're connecting. So excluding those types of people, that was my original strategy. And I built up people just from being active and having a lot of connections. And then at a certain point, I realized, if I'm going to promote my product and who I am, then why not build it to a broader audience? So then I started connecting to second degree connections that I saw were either active on LinkedIn, or when I saw that when I connected to somebody, you see the recommended names and stuff that comes up. I saw the ones that I have a lot of connections to. So I looked for active people on LinkedIn, people who are actively posting content, because then if they write something on my feed, that will be seen on their feed. So it just builds the engagement and builds the audience that you have. So I actively connect to connections that are posting a lot of content, and I actively connect to people who I see there's a lot of mutual connections with as well. So I do actively go out, and I devote about 15 minutes a day to dealing with LinkedIn, to making posts, to looking at connections and trying to connect to the right type of people. And it's not just people who would be prospects so that could potentially use my work. It's people who also would be within my network that could recommend my services and know me and would feel comfortable telling other people about me. So you want to build that full audience. Again, I'm not on LinkedIn to sell. I'm ultimately on LinkedIn to make it part of my business, but it's not to sell on LinkedIn. It's for people to identify who I am and then want to come to me or want to have them recommend me.
Right. And once again, I'm gonna dumb it down into an analogy that everybody can understand, right? If you go to a networking event and you're at a bar or a restaurant and you're walking around milling about connecting with people, you're not shaking your hand and saying, hey, I'm an estate planning attorney, would you like to meet about doing your will? Right. That's not what we do at a networking event. You just introduce yourself and, hey, what's going on? I'm just looking to make connections, and then I'm looking to follow up with some of
Follow
these
up. Yep.
people and have lunch with them and have coffee with them, and maybe eventually it'll turn into business. But at no point in that process are you pitching to them. And that highlights what you're sharing is basically LinkedIn is a big networking event, is really what it is. And if you
It's
treat
the
it
biggest
that way,
networking event, and it's ongoing.
right, exactly, it's the networking event that never ends.
Right.
And they at times they'll try to be more like Facebook or more, they'll do things that indicates that that's what they're trying to do. But the reality is the attraction of LinkedIn is this massive network of people, of professionals, of people in industry that you can connect with and you can have conversations with. And we we automate our connection outreach. Here in house, I use software for that takes a sales navigator search that I search and will automate it, which actually brings me back to that order of things that I wanted to talk about. But what you have to understand is, although we automate that piece, we don't automate the relationship. So in other words, it takes a lot of outreach and connection to people before you get people who not only connect with you, but then are interested in actually reaching back out and saying hi back to you. So I don't want to be wasting my time doing that. I use software for that. But then once they reply to me, then it's human to human. Then now we're having a conversation. I'll invite them to a phone call. We'll talk face to face, kind of like what we're doing right now. And often it leads to a podcast guest opportunity. Often it leads to another introduction or something else. Or if nothing else, they're going to go and check out the podcast show that that we put on, which now brings them into my real audience. And now there's more potential that they're going to eventually do something with us. So the order of things, one might assume that you need to connect in order to engage, because you said that those are the first two steps. And I just want to point out that LinkedIn is a very interesting tool in that it allows you to engage before you connect. And right. There's a lot of power to that. So if you identify specific people that you want to connect with because you have a strategy, a strategic reason why you want to connect with them, like let's say they're very, very active, they're a good collaboration partner, and you being able to have that relationship could be really good for you on LinkedIn. You want to put them into Sales Navigator, where Sales Navigator will let you know every time that they post something. And then you can go to their post and comment and and you start doing that a few times, and then you go and connect with them. They're much more likely to accept that connection request.
They're familiar with who you are. They know who you are. Exactly.
So I just want to point out that you might assume it needs to go in that order with those two, but it really doesn't. All right, awesome. So we're pretty much out of time. We
can do this all day.
Short. Yeah, no, we could definitely have a longer conversation, and maybe we'll have you back for some more. But okay. I think ultimately the last thing is I want two things from you. Number one, a parting piece of advice for somebody in either of those two major topics we talked about, which is LinkedIn and websites. And then the second thing, and it doesn't have to be related to those, by the way. If you want to tell somebody, hey, be honest and care about others, you can do that too. But parting piece of advice you want to share with our listeners. And then the second thing is if they want to get in touch with you, follow you, or watch what you're doing, interact with you in any way, what is the best next step for them to take?
Okay, that's a great question. And I'm going to see if I can get it in that same order. A parting piece of advice, I would say the same thing for websites and for LinkedIn. And that is to be authentic, be who you are, and get that message across, both on the website and on LinkedIn. Just say, you have an approachable demeanor on the website, explain what you do clearly and with a smile on your face, and on LinkedIn as well. And just do that and do it consistently. As far as getting in touch with me, Radial Creations is our website, www.radialcreations.com, and it's radial, not radio. I get that mistake all the time. Radialcreations.com. And our phone number is 845-371-3603 is our office line. And we've done a lot of law firms lately. And based on what we talked about, these law firms are a little more of a challenge because it's a little more black and white. But the idea is to make color to it. And that's what we'll help them do. And because that's their virtual space. The virtual space is really their office space today. That's the value. That's the valuable real estate. So that's how they get in touch with me. And I really want to thank you for having me as a guest here. I enjoy these speeches, and it's especially with you. We can talk history and go back in time. We should just do like a history discussion on this, and just have a chat on that. I think that'll be great. But I don't know, like you said.
Well, you were the nerd growing up, and I am pretty sure you said that your business goes back to 2002, but I'm pretty sure you developed your first website before anybody knew what the internet was.
1997.
Yeah, see, I told you. The internet was just invented, and you already had a website. So,
High school,
was that your gem website?
Yep, Minerals.net. It's still up and running, and it still has one of the top search engine results for many of the most popular gemstones. If you type diamond information, you'll see it right on the top of the search engine listing.
So Heshy you got me and my brother involved in
I got the whole Valencia Drive involved. Everybody in Valencia Drive had a rock collection.
We went to Sterling Mine together. It was a trip for sure. It was a trip. All good times. So folks, you heard it here first. Be authentic, be you. That is now going to be the title of the show. Be authentic, be you, with Heshy Friedman. Heshy, thank you so much for your time today. This is we made it a bit short, but I think we got a lot packed into this short period of time. Folks, if this is your first time tuning in, make sure to hit that subscribe button in your podcast player so you get notified every time we release a new episode. We're releasing 2 episodes a week, every Tuesday and Thursday, and we're bringing amazing guest interviews like this one to you, as well as my own personal opinions and beliefs and pieces of advice that you may or may not want to follow. Those are there too. And I'm looking forward to catching you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you. Be well.
Have you been enjoying the show? We sure hope so. To make sure you never miss an episode, be sure to hit the subscribe button in your podcast player app. Next week, we will be back with more valuable resources and ideas on how to break the mold and take your law firm to the next level.